Okay, before we go into the chat a bit about the MSP situation, it'd be good to start with a little bit of background on POPX as a company, sort of, when and why it was founded, any key milestones, just, what you can tell us.
Yeah, sure. So POPX is in our 6th year of operation, and we're really proud to say that we've gone from strength to strength. POPX was founded out of a desire to, I guess, rebalance the opportunity in enterprise service management. So we are a ServiceNow specialist partner, and ServiceNow, a fantastic SaaS platform that's gaining and is essentially the market leader at the moment. But what we see is that there can be some challenges to businesses fully adopting the value that's available from platforms like that. And in short, that's why we created POPX, right? To address those challenges head on and really help customers take the benefit of what these cloud platforms can do.
Okay, so in terms of the MSP landscape, I guess everyone is aware that digital transformation is, the sort of only game in town and where everyone's heading towards. But it's quite, it's easy to say we want to be going towards digital transformation or achieve digital transformation, but the reality is there's a lot of complexity involved. So are you finding a lot of people you talk to are a little bit confused, shall we say, as to, how they achieve digital transformation?
Yeah, absolutely. I think digital transformation is essentially a program of multiple projects spanning often multiple years. And I think one thing we always have to remind ourselves is most businesses don't do large scale transformation as part of their daily operations, right? They're usually focused on selling and operating their businesses. And so some sort of external support is almost always implicit in a digital transformation journey. And depending on the quality of your external support, I guess it can be very complex, quite complex, or relatively easy. So yeah, it is a really complex thing to be doing. And that's that's typically because most people's day job isn't to drive these large transformational programs.
Okay, and one of the, I guess, the goals of digital transformation is automation, and when I say automation, not just for the sake of it, but because it's actually going to bring business benefits to the folks using it, whether that's the MSP or their customers. And I guess a lot of the customers, although they appreciate the human interaction with MSPs, they're also quite keen, as long as it works well, to access service portals, sort of service management, automated, etc. So what does that landscape, I guess, look like in terms of what's out there for folks?
Yeah, absolutely. I think from my perspective, automation is probably more the means by which to get to the goal, right? So when we speak to a lot of our customers, really the end goal is to become more operationally efficient, to delight the customers, deliver more value for their customers, improve margins. That's often one we hear a lot. And so automation is seen as a way to get there. And if we think about just the example that you made of customer portals, folks want self-service in this day and age. And particularly in the age of Amazon, Uber, Just Eat, we've got these fantastic experiences in our personal lives. And then people are turning up to work and expecting exactly the same sort of experiences in the B2B world. And so I think it's incumbent on service providers to live up to that, and having a portal where their customers can engage with them, maybe kick off a self-service workflow that's going to deliver an improvement on the service or change part of the service. It's just one way to do that. It doesn't necessarily replace other channels of communication. I still want to be able to pick up the phone and maybe talk to the service desk agents at my service provider. But if there's something simple that I can do on the move in a self-service portal, then it reduces the cost to serve for the service provider and usually makes the customer far happier that they were able to do it that way. So I think it's win-win and aligns to both the customers and the providers' objectives.
And as you explained, the reason for your company to exist, ServiceNow is if not the only game, is one of the most popular ways of achieving a lot of what you've said. But is it fair to say that MSPs find, not necessarily difficult, but there are certain challenges with with sort of onboarding, implementing it, ongoing support. Just describe, if you like, the ServiceNow landscape before we then go on to how yourselves, can help folks address it.
Sure. Yeah, I think one of the reasons why ServiceNow can be so challenging is actually because the opportunity is so great. It's such a powerful platform that can do so much. And then when we think about MSPs, that statement is even more true. So MSPs need strategic platforms that they can run large parts of their operational and business systems from, and ServiceNow is probably the best candidate to do that. But it's not cheap, right? It comes with quite a substantial price tag, and so actually the pressure gets mounted on again to deliver on that opportunity. And so the ROI has to be really, really solid. And I think, and I worked myself at ServiceNow for a large number of years. And what I saw firsthand, I think, was that the traditional model of acquiring the SaaS platform directly from the vendor and pairing that with a professional services outfit to help you get stood up really quickly. I think it's fundamentally broken, right? I think it doesn't actually have the customer's best interests at heart when you're paying by the hour and for someone else to come in and configure something. And quite simply, all that partner is usually wanting to do is finish the project as quickly as possible, charge as much as possible, and move on to the next one. So I've experienced that firsthand, and I'm not sure it's got the customer's best interests at its core.
So as you say, POPX has been created specifically to sort of fill that gap, so to provide additional support and services around ServiceNow, but not, should we say, at the hourly rate that maybe the professional service folks are doing. So can you just describe what it is that you bring to the party?
Yeah, and so we're really simple. We offer ServiceNow as a fully managed service. So it's SaaS as a service, if you will. And that's quite a bit of a game changer, because it means that the customer and the service provider ourselves are partnering together for success. That's our starting point. We're partnered together on this journey. We're working with the customer on a 3-year basis, so we're not going anywhere. And it means that we're able to really get under the skin of what their objectives are as a business and really start to plan long-term strategic pathways, etc., that are going to deliver value. And probably one of the biggest things that happens, but one of the biggest contrasts, sorry, with a professional services type model is that often in that professional services world, roughly 20% of the hours of the implementation costs just goes down to managing the project and managing those resources itself. So you imagine that 20% of that cost is just eaten up in project management, time cards, timesheets of the people on the project themselves. So one of the things that we're able to do is immediately remove that 20%. And that's just, and on top of that, we do have lots of other advantages as well. But imagine if you all of a sudden you can take 20% of the cost out. It's quite remarkable.
And in terms of specific objectives you can help the MSPs with, I think we mentioned it earlier in the conversation, but should we say the traditional service desk model, if it's not broken, it's certainly not state of the art, should we say. So with a combination of ServiceNow and yourselves, you're able to help MSPs to provide, I don't know whether you call it a digital or a modern service desk experience. Is that right?
Yeah, I think that's a really good way of putting it. And I would break that down into doing the basics really, really well. And that might not be anything revolutionary, but actually it can make a phenomenal difference. If you've got a service desk with 50 or 100 agents, if you can make them 5 or 10% more efficient, that's really moving the needle. And with the sophistication of the platforms that we have today, namely in ServiceNow, 5 to 10% is usually the absolute minimum that we can bring just by properly implementing ITIL best practice and aligning to the latest and greatest capabilities. So, just by moving from an old, unencumbered, under-configured system to a best practice, well-configured system, 5 to 10%. If we start then layering on AI, machine learning, large language model support, there's another 10, 20. The sky's the limit, really, available. So, yeah, I think it's definitely a dual strategy of doing the basics really well, but then leaving ourselves open to all of the capability that's available in the market as well.
And in terms of MSPs providing the right level of service delivery to their customers, I mean, clearly we're now in a world of very complex IT environments. They may be accessing or trying to provide applications from all over the place, in the cloud, on wherever. So just how challenging is that? And again, how is it that you can help them to ensure that their ServiceNow experience maximizes the way in which they can help their customers?
Yeah, I mean, from my customer perspective, it looks very challenging, and it's really interesting because it's one way we summarize what we do is we allow our customers to focus on just that, which is their business and delivering those complex services, and they let us worry about supporting them with a really stable best practice platform that can also add to the products and services that they offer. So if you think, to use the old adage that you now have one throat to choke for your operational systems, that's us. We just want to make sure it's operational and working as our customers need. But then we also want to be able to enhance their products and services as well. So just to give a few examples, for our customers that offer connectivity services inside the portal, we're able to offer dashboards and insights and metrics into how that connectivity service that they sell to their customers is performing. So we're complementing their product portfolio with a customer-facing portal that has a dashboard with statistics and what have you in there. So we're actually able to not only allow them to concentrate on what they're doing best, but also enhance their products as well. So that's for me, that's what great partnership is, right? We're able to make them be the best that they can.
And maybe one other aspect to explore: if MSPs are successful, they'll either acquire other companies or they might get acquired, and then you've got that sort of age-old headache of integrating various applications, compatibility problems, etc. So again, it'd be just good to understand how you're able to help. I guess it's a nice problem to have because they're being successful, but it's still a challenge. So how is it that your sales are able to help them to should we say smooth that transition?
Yeah, this is a huge opportunity for both us and our customers. So look, usually businesses are acquiring other businesses to increase the overall value of the combined asset, right? That's almost always the goal, and they want to do that through standardizing, making operations efficient. And so what we offer by doing the basics really well is a really stable operational platform. And some of our customers have had phenomenal success then integrating other businesses into that stable platform. So by providing that stability, they can bring the additional business units in, and they can follow the already well-established ITIL processes, on board all their customers to the customer portal as well, and standardize on that one common approach. And for our customers who are on a big merger and acquisition trail, that's been phenomenally beneficial to both them and to ourselves. And we have some other customers that when we start working with them, they actually have a bit of a legacy. And that legacy is that they've acquired those customers. And because they didn't have the processes or the stability of the platform, they were holding those acquired businesses at arm's length, almost a sort of, well, we've acquired you, but we're not quite sure how to integrate you type setup. And then by starting to work with us, we've been able to build them a really clear roadmap, which is, right, we're going to stabilize your core business, and then we're going to bring those acquisitions that you've already acquired in at that arm's length. So we've been able to then build that into a pathway that's really successful. And then those customers have gone on to require even more by following the sort of cookie cutter approach.
And maybe just to finish, and apologies if it's a bit unfair because clearly digital transformation is a huge topic, but MSPs clearly aware that both they themselves and their customers are on that journey. Do you have any, I don't know, one or two bits of advice as to how folks can develop and implement a sort of successful, any sort of pointers? And bear in mind, I guess a lot of them are already on that journey, so it's maybe how to ensure that you're optimizing that approach as opposed to starting with a blank piece of paper.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's imperative, no matter what you're doing, something of this scale, you need a center of excellence, as it were. And now this center of excellence will usually have some proprietary knowledge in the platforms that you're working with. So whether it's ServiceNow, Salesforce, Dynamics, or whatever, you're going to need some experts in those platforms, right? You don't want to be learning this for the first time in the middle of a transformation project. You're probably going to need some people who are highly experienced in doing transformation themselves. And so it's generally that label of building a center of excellence that can support you. Now, certain organizations of certain size will pride themselves on being able to do this internally. And from my experience, that's mostly been large banks and blue chip companies. And so I think for everyone else, they have to think really hard about whether they want to and can build that center of excellence internally, or if it's something that they want to work with an external third party on. But there can't be any compromise on the expertise required. Where we see time and time again these types of projects fail, where it's side of desk for someone in the organization, it's not properly being invested in, and someone's tried to do it, not necessarily on the cheap, but they've tried to do it without that professional support. So I would always, to summarize, I would always say, know what you're getting into and make sure you're resourced appropriately, either through internal people or external people.
Okay, it's been great to chat to you. Some fantastic insights into some of the challenges and opportunities, if you like, around the digital transformation process for MSP. But Andy, really appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Well, thanks very much, Phil. It's been great.
Thanks again.